So satsang is always in the form of question and answer, or call and response. It's the same principle as kirtan. And why do we have this principle? It's not only in satsang and not only in kirtan, but also in the original scriptures of the tantric tradition. They're all in a question and answer format, where some male form of the divine and a female form of the divine are asking and answering questions. Why is this? Because this is the format, this is the fundamental way of duality. Right now we're having a dualistic experience. We're having the experience of someone talking and you being someone and listening. That's your basic duality. There's more than one here. There's an experience of there being more than one here. So in that fundamental experience of duality, built in is this call and response aspect. Something happens and there's a response. That's how duality works. And when we become more awake, we learn how to respond and listen more skillfully. Kirtan helps us to do that. Satsang helps us to do that. And Ma, Anandamayi Ma, I just call her Ma, she only taught in a question and an answer format. She did not write books. She did not give little Dharma talks like I'm doing now. She simply arrived or sat somewhere. If people asked her things or said anything to her, she responded. If not, she didn't. She just sat and was in whatever condition she was in. She only responded to the desires and requests and questions of her devotees. She was being in that condition to show them what reality really is, that there's this call and response aspect. So she loved to talk, and she loved to play with language and joke around. She had a really marvelous laugh. And a lot of her devotees, a couple in particular, wrote down her satsangs, transcribed them word for word. Some of them were recorded on cassette tapes. I mean, she lived until 1982, so she's been filmed and recorded and all that stuff. And then this particular book was translated by one of her principal Western disciples, Admananda, who wrote a marvelous book of her own called Death Must Die. If anybody's interested in reading it, Ma instructed her as part of Atmananda's sadhana, her practice, to write a diary. And so Atmananda wrote this book about her own sadhana and her life with Ma, and it's really a marvelous book, just detailing the day-by-day nitty-gritty of trying to let go of your limitations and wake up. So I highly recommend it to anybody. Anyway, so this book is just questions that people asked and the answers Ma gave. A member of a well-known Indian family who had distinguished herself by devoting her life to service came from Mataji's darshana and asked, "Does the capacity to meditate come by practice in this life, or is it an aptitude acquired in former births?" This question was asked in Ceylon on September 16, 1948. Ma said, "It may be the result either of the two or of both combined. Meditation should be practiced every day of one's life. Look, what is there in this world? Absolutely nothing that is lasting. Therefore, direct your longing toward the eternal." We all have longing, and longing is absolutely necessary for self-realization. You cannot self-realize if you do not feel longing. Now, most of us experience longing. We experience longing for some other person or people. We experience longing for various substances that we like, various foods and beverages, and we may long for some sort of acclaim. We may long for some position in our career. We may long for lots of different things. But Ma's saying, turn that river of longing toward waking up, toward what is eternal, towards your own eternal essence nature. Turn your longing toward discovering that. And so this is the process of what happens when you start to do meditation or other spiritual practices like mantra and Kriya Yoga, etc. You're longing for all these other things that are only sort of an echo only bring you an echo of the contentment that you would feel if you were self-realized. You're longing for those things that are impermanent and only bring what I like to call the Walmart version of satisfaction. Right? It's very tawdry. The types of satisfactions that we run after. We eventually begin to feel that. We eventually begin to feel their dryness and their brittleness and their we begin to realize that those things only cause momentary feelings of satisfaction, momentary feelings of contentment, momentary feelings of pleasure. And we begin to feel that that isn't enough. Right? Ma always taught, don't settle for anything other than self-realization. Don't settle. Of course, most of us are settling a lot of the time. But we learn not to do that through daily practice. We establish a new habit.